Good evening and hello to all of our students. Welcome to Business Economy class. Um, Please let me know if you can hear my voice properly. Okay. Hi, Mr. Mohammed Asif, and the rest of friends that you are in the class already, Mr. Abdul Mubin and Mr. Jabi. Good evening to all of you. We are going to start another semester and another completely different subject. I hope that we can have a good class and enjoy the class together. I have been here for more than already 15 minutes, and as not lots of students attend the class, I didn't actually there was nobody in the class, so I didn't start the class. I was waiting for you to join. We can now start the class, but explanation about what will be your assessment and all of those things I will postponing to the maybe to the later on because then we have more number of students in class and they can have all of this information. We don't really need to repeat them again. As you can see, the business economy is a new course that you're about to start. Completely different texture, different concept, and I hope with the time that you have and the invitation that you have, it is online. I still can teach you as much as I can, and then you will learn all of the concepts properly. So, as you can see, this is the first chapter. After the first chapter, it is all about introduction. The principle of economics. The 10 principle of economics, we start with them. What is the whole economy is all about and the whole principle, and see how the whole thing will be significant enough to be discussed and to be shared. A household and an economy face many decisions. Who will work? Okay, this is one of the questions that you may have in a household. Who's going to work? What goods and how many of them should be produced? This is another question. What resources should be used in production? This is another general question. At what price should the goods be sold? As you can see, everything is going to be more or less about who and what and how much of each has to be produced. So, if you look at here, why these questions can be important? Why society, and this is a basic question coming from a household perspective, like a very, very basic, a household and an economy. What are the main decisions? This is a very old approach to our household as well. Maybe the new households are not going to exactly follow the same pattern. Everything is changed. But this is the initial question that actually existed before in household, and then now more or less it changed. Look at another question, society and security. From social point of view, in society level, the management of society resources is important because resources are scarce. One of the most common keywords that we're going to from now on talk about that in economics is a scarcity of resources. Actually, this is why all of the nations and all of the governments and all of people in the world started planning, and things like economy and economic planning, economics actually come to the picture because you don't have abundance in all of the resources. So if you want to get the best result out of them, you have to find out the best way of using them. And the best way of using them means you have to plan your resources. So scarcity means that society has limited resources and therefore cannot produce all the goods and services people wish to have. As you can see, the basic explanation of scarcity, we kind of can answer why then business has to happen, why we have international business, why trade-off is there. All of these things are going to tell us because there are some scarcity in some resources and we have abundance in other resources. We may trade off here to be able to get all and the whole needs package being satisfied. So this is what I'm going to try and explain for you today in detail, which is a scarcity, as well as how these scarcity has to be responded by a perfect medication called economics. As you can see, as we go further, you will understand more the basics of the whole economics, why it's important, why the study of economics is going to help us. Economics is the study of how society manages the scarcity. As you can see, as I explained to you just now, that will help us to understand why basically we need to have something called economics. How people make decisions. People usually face trade-off. Trade-off is when you give up something to gain something else. You give up your time to gain study. You give up your study to work. You give up your work to take care of your family. Things like that. These are all trade-offs. In life, you're going to have so many of these trade-offs. You trade off your time, or you give up your time with your friends outside to have some time with your family. That is another trade-off. So trade-off is going to happen in normal life in different levels. But when it comes to economics, this is going to be about all of the things that we do, all of the resources that we have to gain other resources in return. The cost of something is what you give up to get it. So you see, we say a smartphone is going to be the cost for me $2,000 or $2,000 per month or $2,000, and it means I'm giving up this much money to be able to get that product. So that is the cost of something. Rational people think at the margin. Means usually they try to see what are the potentials of profit and margin in that, and people respond to incentives. These are other basic principles of economics. If there is an incentive, physical or psychological, people definitely respond to that, and they try to all the time, in any trade-off that they do, gain something as a margin of profit. That definitely stimulates them to do it again and again. So you have to do this trade-off. You are going to be stimulated by incentives. You definitely do it if you have better profit, and these are the basic tools. How people interact with each other. Okay, there is another aspect. Trade can make everyone better off. As you can see, by trade, you definitely have this better off of everyone. Markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. Usually, any economic activity has to have a basic foundation and basically infrastructure. Usually, this infrastructure comes from the market by itself. So, different markets all around the world are organizing different economic activities. Governments can sometimes improve economic outcomes by intervening and trying to add their own basically effort to it to boost the economy or sometimes control something. Things like inflation, things like unemployment, things like interest rate, all can be stimulated, amended, manipulated by government intervention. So intervention of government all the time is going to be part of the whole economy, and usually it is for improving the economy. So the forces and trends that affect how the economy as a whole works. The standard of living depends on a country's production. You see, when we're talking about the standard of living in different countries, one of the basic things that we all the time discuss is the country's production. So the more you produce, the more actually prosperity is going to be there. So you definitely you can sell them, you can bring this money to the whole economy and then make everybody prosperous. So the whole standard of living will be affected. Prices rise when the government spends too much money. This is again another fact. So as you can see, we are talking about random facts in economics and the influence of them on the market as well as the economy by itself. Another thing is this: when prices rise, the government prints too much money, and that by itself, prices rise when the government prints too much money. When you have a lot of money in the town, so the value of money will be decreased. So that is when inflation actually hits. So prices rises, usually we call it inflation in economics, and the reason simply is why the government intervention in certain part of the market, and then that definitely influence the thing. I can see some gentleman saying he has difficulty hearing. I think apparently everybody can understand except this gentleman. Maybe there is something wrong with the system. Sir Javid, yeah, you have to take care of it. Society faces a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. That is exactly another fact related to economic as well as, I think as you can see, we are talking about short-run trade-off between inflation and employment. You see, simply, when you have higher inflation, then the chances of lots of businesses going bankrupt, because you see inflation is high means people are not able to buy the product. Not able to buy the product means there is no good demand. If demand is not good, means companies and factories that they're producing product or creating services are going to have less demand, and means they have to get rid of some of their employees. That means higher unemployment. So you can simply see the relationship between higher inflation and unemployment. This is again another fact, and we are just going to talk about different things to reach this principle number one, which is people face trade-off. What does it mean, people face trade-off? It means there is no such a thing as a free lunch. You want to gain something, you have to give up something for that. Simply, as you can see this burger, here, if you want to have it, it's not like you can get it simply without paying for that. You have to pay for that. That payment that you spend to get that burger is simply what you give up to gain that new thing. That is a trade-off. We say people have to face it. To get one thing, we usually have to give up another thing. For example, guns versus butter. You have a country that produce lots of dairy products. On the other side, you're in need of weapons for your security and other purposes. So you sell the butter to get guns, or vice versa. Food versus clothing. Leisure time versus work. You want to have a better life, but you have plenty of free time. You need money, means you need to work more, so you have to give up some of your leisure time to be able to work, and then that is how you trade off. Efficiency and quality. Sometimes you want to get better price and make it cheaper, then you have to compromise on equity, or vice versa. So these are the things that usually happen, different type of trade-off. Making decisions requires trading off one goal against another. Very simple. Another question would be like this. You are a company which is making different products, and your product seems expensive to your customers, so you don't have a very good demand. You believe if you decrease your price, you will have a better demand in the market. But decreasing the price, it's not going to happen just easily. So you're making this decision, and you're trading off your quality to be able to gain lower price. That is the basic trade-off that you do in this condition. So let's talk about efficiency versus equity a little more. Efficiency means society gets the most that it can from its scarce resources. That is the efficiency. And equity is when means the benefits of those resources are distributed fairly among the member of society. So as you can see, efficiency is when you can get the best and the most out of what you have, and equity is when you make it fair and square for everybody to gain home. Okay? So this is what we try to say, what we try to explain, which is you have to make sure that there is that when you are gaining a new thing, you're gaining something valuable in return. The cost of something is what you give up to get it. This is principle number 2. We already talked about them randomly, but we want to now firmly talk about different principles. So the first one we already taught. Principle number 2 is, as I told you before, the cost of something that you have is what you're giving up to get it. Decision requires comparing costs and benefits of alternatives. Usually, when you want to make any decision, you look at the cost and benefits that you get. Okay? How much you're paying and how much benefit you get. So that is how you're going to choose one out of the alternatives that you have. Whether to get to go to college or work. You see, for example, you can be somebody very talented in study and so on, and then you reach, for example, 18 years old, but there is another opportunity of work for you as well, and you know this is a work that not everybody can be at work, and you're going to have a very good outcome in return. So you choose to go to that work rather than going the usual path, which is a study. Simply, you believe the outcome and cost that you're going to have for the first choice is much more reasonable for you rather than the second choice. Whether to study or go on a date, whether to go to class or sleeping. You see, these are all different comparisons and cost and benefits that every single day you have in your life, and based on that, you will make different decisions. Mr. Mohammed Asif saying that if the resources are limited, how can we consider equity? So, okay, equity is not about limitation of resources. Even if it's no matter how much is it, equity means you have to be able to make everybody use it and gain benefit out of that in fair and square way, not certain type of people. That is equity. So no matter how much is it, abundant and scarce, at the end of the day, what we're looking at is making everybody benefit out of that in the same way. So let's come back here. We were talking about the all of these decisions and the cost of something that you gain, and then what you are going to give up in return. The opportunity cost of an item is what you give up to obtain that item. So you see, you may go and give up that. As I told you, you remember that case that I told you. You can work in a very special job and most probably gain lots of salaries and benefits, or you may study. If you don't do that and go and study, that would be opportunity cost. It is an item that you already gave up to be able to reach another item. And vice versa, if you go for work and you don't study, again, that will be opportunity cost of your work, okay? Which is like you choose this and you give up another one. So it's all about what you gain and what you lose. A very good example can be this gentleman, the cost of something. He's a famous basketball player, LA Laker basketball star Kobe Bryant, chose to skip college and goes straight from high school to the pros where he has earned millions of dollars. So you see, for him, opportunity cost of going there, it was college, but he ended up having good estimation, and his prediction paid off, and became a millionaire. Not everybody is going to have the same situation. Sometimes you make decisions, and at the end, you regret that, or you think if you didn't make this decision this way, you probably had a better life. But that is definitely subject to what situation you are and how it works. So rational thinking at the margin. This is another principle that we're going to talk about that more in detail. Marginal changes. First of all, what is margin and marginal changes? Marginal changes are a small increment adjustment to an existing plan of an action. And as you can see, people make decisions by comparing cost and benefit at the margin. Usually when you are going to make any decision, you look at the possible profit or margin that you gain out of that. Okay? So if you don't get that estimated profit or benefit out of the decision, so most probably you're not going to make it. So again, rational means those people that think logically and act, those people that think logically as well as act logically. These people usually look at the margin and look at the benefit and cost that you're going to have. So cost benefit all the time is going to be in their mind whenever they make any decision. So principle number 4, people respond to incentives. What are the incentives and how it's going to work? Marginal changes in cost or benefits motivate people to respond. So based on the first rule, that you don't do any transaction or any decision except the incentives or the profit and margins are there in comparison with the cost. You have usually marginal changes in cost or benefit motivate people to respond as well. So incentives there as well will stimulate human decision making. So the decision to choose one alternative over another occurs when that alternative's marginal benefit exceeded its marginal cost. So all the time, whenever you think what you're giving up and what you're gaining relatively about this subject to another subject is better, then you choose this subject over another subject. A very simple thing. You have 2 or 3 choices, and if you believe the marginal benefit that you get out of number 2 is more than number 1 and number 3 over their marginal cost, so you most probably choose number 2 simply because you have that incentive. So as people usually are, as rational people that you are thinking logically as well as acting logically, you usually pay attention to this difference. Principle number 5, trade can make everyone better off. What does it mean? People gain from their ability to trade with one another. So you can see some people are better, some people are not. So that causes some people being more successful in trade and some not really. So when we say people gain from their ability to trade with other people, so if you are more eligible and able to do the trade, and that definitely can give you a better chance and better opportunity to make profit out of your trade. Competition results in gains from trading. And definitely there are lots of competitors in the market doing the same thing. And the better you do it, the better profit you're going to gain. Trade allows people to specialize in what they do the best. Again, the whole concept of trade is helping you to have relative competitiveness, which means if you're good in something and you're good in another thing, but relatively you're good in the first one more in comparison with your competitors, you better do the first one. This is what we call relative competitiveness. And again, that is part of the whole principle number 5. Okay? Trade allows people to specialize in what they do best. So that is the meaning of trade to make everyone better off. Means getting the best you can do out of your package and resources and end up having the best margin and profit. So principle number 6, markets are usually a good way to organize economic activity. Uh, so let's talk about that more in detail. A market economy is an economy that allocates resources through the decentralized decision of many firms and households as they interact in markets for goods and services. As you can see, usually a market or generally markets are the best way to make or initiate any economic activity, as some people need something and some other people are able to satisfy those needs. The whole trade will happen. Households decide what to buy and who to work for, and that definitely creates demand for certain jobs and certain products and services, and firms decide who to hire and what to produce. Very simple. Households said what they want, firms decide what to produce. Also, they said who they want to work for, and decide who to hire for. And that is basic equation that's going to work and cause the whole market to stand up and be the reason why economic activity can happen properly. So Adam Smith, as you know, as one of the oldest, basically, theorician in economy, made the observation that households and firms interacting in markets act as if guided by an invisible hand. So invisible hand is the term and keywords that for first time he brought it up. Because households and firms look at prices when deciding what to buy and sell, then unknowingly take into account the social cost of their action. So very simple. You see, you look at the product that you can afford buying them, and so you will have a higher demand for those products. And companies that they make product also look at the product that have the highest demand. So they try to come up with a price that make the customer buy. As you see, at the end of the day, the whole economy is stimulated by this, and that is how the social cost of their actions is going to come to the picture. As a result, prices guide decision makers to reach outcomes that tend to maximize the welfare of society as a whole. You see, you will be happy to buy the product because the product seems reasonable to you, and so you will have higher demand for that. On the other side, companies make that product because they believe there are lots of demand for that, so they can create a better supply, and then good price can be charged as well. So that is how invisible hand creates the dynamism in the whole economy. So principle number 7, government can sometimes improve market outcomes. So let's talk about the government. Okay, I can see again another student saying he cannot properly hear. Please let me know if everybody can hear me properly, students. Okay, loud and clear, yes, I do, and so on. So I think these our friends that they cannot hear me properly, there is most probably a problem with the system, so please take care of that. Let's talk about principle number 7. Governments can sometimes improve market outcomes, and let's see how these improvement in market outcomes can actually happen. First, let's talk about market failure. Occurs when the market fails to allocate resources efficiently. Sometimes markets may have a problem of allocating the resources problem, and this is when the problem comes to the picture. When the market fails, break down, the government can intervene to promote efficiency and equity. Actually, government as the main coordinator in any society and market, their main job is taking care of the economy and make sure the economy all the time prospers. Or if it doesn't work properly, try to help by sometimes funding the economy, by working on monetary system, as well as other factors that can help boost up the economy and stop it from going to decline mood. So market failure may be caused by an externality which is the impact of one person or firm's action on the well-being of a bystander, or it can be market power, which is the ability of a single person or firm to unduly influence market prices. So any of these two can be the reason why market failure happens. Okay, and the government can actually come to the picture to take care of that by having their own elements of input, and then make sure things are going in a way that they were supposed to go. So principle number 8, the standards of living depends on a country production. That is a very, very clear message. But let's talk about that in detail and see why. Standard of living may be measured in different ways. By comparing personal income, this is one of the most common ways of doing that. If you look at the personal income of different countries, so their income per capita, average income per capita per year for a country can be one of the good ways of saying standard of living in that country. And we usually do this comparison with certain currencies, for example, US dollar. So if you get the country in higher income per capita, definitely have a higher standard of living. Another way of understanding how standard of living is by comparing the total market value of a nation's production. We usually look at the GDP, and we again look at the GDP per capita, and then we can do a comparison. So definitely, the higher your production is, the better your standard of living is, because the higher production, the better you can, means you have a good demand for that, means demand is coming to be inspired by good people that they can spend money, that is spending money because it buy more product. That means people can produce more, means they have to hire people more, so less unemployment. And you see, this system can go again and again in a better way. So that is the whole idea of how the good economy and countries with lots of production can have a better standard of living as well as income level and so on. Almost all variations in living standards are explained by differences in countries' productivities. So if you have a country that has a lower living standard, usually it means that they have a less productive system. So, or the productivity is not as good as the first country. Productivity is the amount of goods and services produced from each hour of a worker's time. So it means if you have a very good outcome of your worker, this productivity is going to measure in so many different ways. This is one of the most basic ways of explaining productivity. Means how much goods and services I can produce from an hour working of my workers, and how much is it in comparison with other countries or other systems. That is how productivity can be measured. And simply, the higher your productivity, the higher your income, the higher your standard of living. Standards of living may be measured in different ways, as I told you before, by comparing personal income and comparing, this is a repetitive slide, total market value of nations. And let's talk about the prices number 9, principle number 9, prices rise when the government prints too much money. Now we're going to talk about a little bit. So as you can see today, we're talking about different aspects of economy, how different elements can influence the economy, some basic rules, some of the policies by government, things like that. So let's see how you will have higher prices if government prints too much money. As we all know, prices rises means we have inflation. Inflation means that when the average price of the basket of products is more in comparison with the last year at the same time. Or it depends how you're seeing inflation, last 6 months, last 3 months. In certain duration of time that you're seeing the inflation, usually you will look at the average price of a package of products and you will see how much is changed in comparison with last year. If you have significant changes, that means you have inflation. Usually for seeing the inflation, you don't look at certain random product. You nominate certain products that you are principal and fundamental to consumers and customers in the country, and this is how it works. Mr. Riyaz is saying, please, can somebody tell me how to connect? Actually, I don't really know why you have these problems, gentlemen. I think I think this is something related to the system, how some people can do it and some they cannot. Yeah, let's follow what Miss Nadia is telling you. You try to relog in and see how it works. And most probably, as our friends are saying, this is how it works. Try to do it and see whether you can hear me properly. As I 2 times, 3 times asked, the rest of the students are okay. Actually, you are now 5 of you in the class, 2 of you are thinking okay, 2 not really. So please try to see how you can do. Miss Nadia is okay, Ms. Mohammed Asif is okay, Mr. Abdul Moini is okay, Mr. Arif is also said it's okay. So I think Mr. Riyaz, try to see what you have to do to be able to hear. That should not be something coming from this side. That has to be something to do with your system. So let's come back. We were talking about principle number 9. Prices rise when the government prints too much money. We were talking about the inflation. We told you more or less what is the meaning of the inflation. Inflation is an increase in the overall level of prices in the economy. Usually we, as I told you, nominate certain fundamental products in a society. For example, the price of rice, the price of potato, the price of chicken, or things like that that are important in every household portfolio purchase. And based on basket of purchase basket, and then based on that, we will see what are the differences, and we can basically calculate inflation. One cause of inflation is the growth in quantity of the money. One of the most common reasons why inflation happens is when you have abundancy in quantity of money by itself. Means the size of the money increases. So it's a very basic economical rule. If you have something abundance in certain thing, that the price of that product comes down. Very simple. The gold is gold and is expensive because it's scarce. If it goes abundant, definitely the gold won't be that much expensive. Very simple thing. The same thing goes to government. So if you see the money by itself, okay, it goes more than enough the society. So you have more than enough. You publish more than enough, too much money. You're actually contributing to inflation. And that is the basic rules. So when the government creates large quantities of money, the value of money actually falls down. That is why United States of America faced a huge inflation during the presidency of George W. Bush, simply because they published so much money to fund the war in Iraq as well as other stuff, and that caused them to have the huge deduction in value of the money in the United States. So inflation hit and it was one of the worst in the history of the United States. So principle number 10, society faces a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. I kind of explained it before, but I'm going to explain it again, and you more or less understand what do I mean by society faces a short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. The Phillips curve illustrates the trade-off between inflation and unemployment. When you have inflation going down, you have unemployment happening. It's a short-run trade-off. Sometimes you want to push off. You see, one of the ways that you can control unemployment is trying to for a short period of time, because sometimes inflations are going to be very, very difficult to handle. So you may control inflation by having certain policies by government, but it may cause you in short run. We're talking about short run. See, the explanation that I had before was long run. Long run, this relationship is not the same way that you can see here. But in short run, if you want to get the inflation control, means you have to uh, do things that kind of uh, control the economic activities that you're doing. That means lower economic activity. That means lower reason for having everybody employed. So it means companies have to have less employees. With less employees, still they can cope with the demand in the market, means higher unemployment. But that is a short run trade-off. You do this in a very short period of time to be able to take care of your unemployment in a very short, sorry, inflation growth. But in long run, definitely it's not the solution, and it's not going to work the same way. So what we have done today was basically covering 10 main principles of economics and kind of giving you a very, very basic introduction to how economics is going to work and different aspects of that. The main purpose beside this was kind of telling you how economics is going to be part of our life and how different parts of our life is going to be affected more or less from economics and economics, economics as a whole. And so beside this, I will, after explaining this and kind of finishing the slide, I will be able to explain for you how the whole assessment in this semester is going to be and so on. So if you have any questions so far, please let me know. If not, then I will explain for you what will be your my basic expectation for this class and things like that. Is there any question? Okay, I want to ask you, if there is no question, I want to ask you whether did you understand the whole concept, the whole introduction? Was there any part that you didn't understand properly or things like that? Okay, Miss Nadia, short run trade-off means the sacrifice and decision that you make to be able to get something better, but it's going to happen just in short time. In short period of time, you may, for controlling the inflation and bringing the inflation, control the inflation and decreasing the prices, you may sacrifice your employment. But this is the trade-off that you do. As you can see in the picture as well, you will have lower inflation, but in short run means higher unemployment, which is not something pleasant. But because inflation is more destructive, you do it, then maybe in long run you can do something else about that. You understand the whole thing? Okay, thank you. How about the rest? Is there any question that you have? Please ask. If you have any question, I will be delighted to be able to answer it. Can it be in groups or individual? Okay, I will explain for you how the assignment is going to be. Let me know about if you have any. Yes, like give up. You give up something to gain something else. Yeah, we constantly and kind of consistently use the word give up in this course so far to tell you you're giving up something to be able to get something else. Yes, Mr. Mohammed. Right. Anything else, ladies or gentlemen? Okay. If there is no question, let me share another thing that I will send you later on, and you will be able to see it later on. Why? Because I want to send it to your basically your email addresses later on. What I'm sharing with you is your project. As you can see, your assessment. Those that they had class with me last semester, they know how my assessment is. You won't basically have any kind of exams on. You will have one final project, group project that you have to handle by shaping groups of 5. This is how your group project is going to be. Write an executive summary of what you have learned as a group in the course, covering first 7 chapters and how you are going to apply it to your career. So as you go, every chapter you have to apply whatever you learn to actually to your basically, as you can see, this executive summary that you have, and let us know how it's going to help you in your career and so on. And you will do it up to chapter 8, means you will cover chapter 7. And so as week by week we are going, you have to finalize this. So as previous semester, you have to create your groups of 5 students and 1 as a group leader. You can send me an email and send me the names immediately after the class, the group that you want to be in with, and who's going to be the group leader. Then subsequently you will receive an email from me covering all of the chapters will be there, as well as your group assignment. So this is the general explanation about the whole thing. The requirements for the whole basically the whole course of business economy will group project will be, your essay should be no more than 10 pages and not less than 8. As you can see, it's not a very expensive thing. You're going to write something very, very limited, but the quality of the writing is important. So this is what I'm going to pay attention to. The font type is Times New Roman and font size 12 as usual. You need to use practical and real application, and imaginary and fake data is not acceptable. Each group should not exceed 5 members and not less than 4 members. Each group should have a group leader, and the group leader will be able to be in charge of the assignment submission to the lecturer. Assignments are due by week 8. As you know, my due date for assignment is week 8. So you can have 1 week maximum delay, and that will cost you 25% of the mark. But more than week 9, I don't accept any assignment. You can send your assignment due date by week 8. Email to my email address that you can see over there, gmail.com. And basically, notes are going to be, assignment will be scored by the practical and authenticity of the essay. And late submission, as I just explained for you, 1 week will cost 25% of total assessment mark, and late submission, which is more than a week, won't be accepted. So these are the things that you will have about your assignment. What you have to do, definitely I will send you all of the chapters before I see. Don't worry about that, as well as your group assignment, as usual. Just make sure that you're making your group immediately and send me the list of the group members plus the group leader. Today we didn't have lots of students attending class, but you can spread. I try to explain this one more time next session. And later on, you can explain to your friends as well as your shaping your groups. So is there any question about the assignment as well as chapter or anything like that? Okay, dear students, pay attention to this point. This is an introduction chapter, so that's why it seems very brief. Most of our chapters are going to be very extensive because we are going to discuss about different principles of economics, different formula, different equations, and how the system works. The explanation will be more in detail in next chapters coming up. Definitely, we try to make sure that everybody understands the whole concept as we go further. And please don't hesitate to ask questions if you think there are parts that you don't understand. Definitely in a spot that will help you to understand it. If I can be able to answer, definitely I will be happy to do it, and I will do it. Mr. Morales says if we have assessment instruction in written, it would be great. Yeah, I already put it here. assessment instruction written, as you can see here, and I will send you this as well. Don't worry, Mr. Nasir. Definitely you will receive this. As I just explained for you, yeah, definitely will be sent to you, so don't worry about that. Anything else that you would like to know from the first chapter? Okay. Okay, thank you so much. If there is no question, we can wrap up this session. As I told you, it was an introduction session, and our discussion they will definitely go higher and hotter, more sizzling from next session. Just make sure that you create your group as soon as possible, and you will send me, as I put your email address over there. We can write it down now. I can even copy paste, write it down here in the chat box when you have it, and you can send me the basically your group members sooner, and I'll make sure that you receive the chapters as soon as possible. As you can see, this is my email address. Yes. Okay, thank you so much all for attending the class. I hope that you enjoyed it. As you don't have any other questions, so let's call it a day and see you all next week. And have a great night. Thanks all.